Good day and welcome. My name is Michael Shapiro and I am the Digital Industries Trade Commissioner at the Trade Commissioner Service Office in Johannesburg. I cover the artificial intelligence, big data analytics, IoT, fintech, and cybersecurity subsectors, while my ICT colleague, Mrs. Nina Dube, covers telecoms, enterprise software, digital media, and video games. Our office is responsible for South Africa, Mauritius, Namibia, Madagascar, and Lesotho. The South African ICT market is by far the largest ICT market in Africa, and I will primarily focus on South Africa today. In terms of size, South Africa is only slightly larger than the province of Ontario, but has a much larger population of 58 million people. Gauteng, which includes Johannesburg and Pretoria, is the smallest province, but has the biggest GDP. Johannesburg, with a population of 5.6 million people, is the de facto business capital of South Africa. South Africa is by far the most sophisticated, advanced, and diversified economy in Africa, with a GDP of $351 billion in 2019. Prior to 2020, South Africa was already experiencing sluggish growth and high unemployment. This was further exacerbated by the economic effects of COVID-19. South Africa accounts for the lion's share of the African ICT market, with most major global ICT companies and system integrators basing their African operations in South Africa. Telecommunication holds the largest share of the South African market. As a result of increased digitalization, there has been an increase in spending in the AI, IoT, fintech, and cybersecurity subsectors. The South African mobile market is dominated by two main players. The first being Vodacom, which is the African subsidiary of the Vodafone Group, and the second being the MTN Group, which is based in South Africa and has operations spread across Africa and the Middle East. Telkom is a historic fixed-line provider who in recent years have started to expand into the mobile and broadband sectors. The South African banking ecosystem is technologically mature, with internet and mobile banking being common, and checkbooks having already been phased out. For decades, the South African banking industry was dominated by Absa, Nedbank, FNB, and Standard Bank. The last decade has seen the steady rise of Capitec Bank, who have grown from an unsecured lender into the South African bank with the most personal banking customers. These 5 traditional banks are under threat from the new digital banks and are looking for solutions in order to compete with these new entrants. In order to remain globally competitive and to increase efficiency, South African corporates and manufacturers are looking for AI and IoT solutions to help drive their digitalization processes. COVID-19 has resulted in companies placing an increased urgency in implementing their digitalization plans. There is a high demand for cybersecurity solutions in South Africa, with Accenture identifying South Africa as the country with the third highest number of cybersecurity victims worldwide. South African financial institutions, utilities, and private hospital groups have all fallen victim to cyber attacks and cyber breaches in the last few years. South Africa has prioritized seizing the opportunities presented by the Fourth Industrial Revolution. In April 2019, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the creation of the Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution. The commission selected leaders from academia, government, and the private sector to be commissioners. In October 2020, the commission released their recommendations. The report highlighted artificial intelligence, broadband, IoT, cybersecurity, and fintech as priority areas of focus. In January 2020, there were 36.5 million internet users in South Africa, which was an increase of 1.1 million users from the previous year. There were 22 million social media users in South Africa in January 2020. The number of social media users in South Africa increased by 3.5 million between April 2019 and January 2020. There were 103.5 million mobile connections in South Africa in January 2020. The number of mobile connections in South Africa increased by 3.5 million between January 2019 and January 2020. To summarize, there are a number of ICT opportunities available in South Africa. This includes equipment and services to support broadband infrastructure rollout, particularly to rural areas in South Africa, which were chronically underserviced. Unreliable power supply has increased demand for backup power that supports telecom infrastructure. Reduced revenue from traditional voice has opened the door for OTT services. The high rate of cyber attacks on South African companies has led them to seek cybersecurity solutions. Financial institutions are particularly looking for fintech solutions. These include mobile money, payment, as well as KYC and AML solutions. Corporates and manufacturers are looking for both artificial intelligence and Internet of Things solutions as they embark on digitalization processes. In terms of ICT, South African companies and system integrators are interested in Canadian telecom, fintech, cybersecurity, AI, digital media, enterprise software, and IoT solutions. Before entering the South African market, there are a number of challenges that Canadian companies should be aware of. These include a restrictive regulatory environment, poor ICT infrastructure outside the major cities, a shortage of ICT skills, and the South African government's affirmative action procurement policy, known as Triple BEE, or Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment. On the more positive side, South Africa is the largest ICT market in Africa and acts as a regional hub, with leading operators having strong international expertise. This, combined with the new Africa Free Trade Agreement, makes South Africa an inviting market. Outside of South Africa, there are limited opportunities in the 4 other countries that we cover, the only exception being Mauritius. The Mauritian ICT sector contributes 6.4% to the country's GDP. Mauritius is in the process of positioning itself as the leading fintech hub in Africa. However, this effort has been hindered by an EU decision in November 2020 to place it on a money laundering blacklist. Namibia, Madagascar, and Lesotho have very limited ICT prospects due to lack of economic growth as well as political instability. Thank you very much for attending today's presentation. If you have any questions or would like assistance in penetrating the South African market, please feel free to reach out to either myself or my colleague Nina Dube.